Hello everybody, this is Kay from Boom Radio and you are listening to Pixel Boss. I today am joined by the incredible BAFTA award winning for his role as Raphael in Baldur's Gate 3. I am joined by Andrew Wincott. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing very well, thank you, Kay. It's lovely to be here on your show chatting to you.
I have to ask, you need to take me right back to that night of the BAFTAs. You're sitting among your colleagues who are also nominated, and your name gets called for performing actor. What happened? Like, how do you feel in that moment? What's going through your head?
Well, what a night it was, but it was very tense when we got increasingly tense throughout the day. And when the ceremony started, it was all quite unreal. It's quite surreal, really. And as every award was given, the ceremony kept going, but still we weren't at the category. And it must have been an hour and a quarter, I don't know, hour and a half even before we got to my category. And I was thinking, really, do I want to win here? Because if I do, I've got to get up and give a speech. And I'd spent the afternoon organizing my thoughts in case I won. But then I got nervous about that. And I thought, well, if I do win, I've got to deliver this speech. Wouldn't it be better just to sit here and, look forward to another glass of champagne or something? Then suddenly, out of nowhere, the category arrived and there were the clips displayed on the screen. And you sort of think, this is the moment, and everything's come down to this one moment. And then, well, I mean, she opened the envelope and she read my name, and then you start to doubt yourself. You think, well, did I really hear that?
Yeah.
Or am I projecting this? Am I hearing voices? Am I hearing my own name where it's not actually? So I just sort of let the moment rest, and I sort of took it. I thought, did I hear it? And then Neil's behind me shaking my shoulders. So I thought, well, I guess he heard it. And then suddenly Trace is there in the aisle giving me a hug. So I thought, well, they heard it, so I guess I did win. So that's it. I'm then into sort of, I don't know, Robo award winning mode, and somehow get onto the stage, receive the award, and go into the speech. Sven said afterwards it was the longest speech in BAFTA history. I said, well, not quite close, but not quite. But they'd said, look, we're not putting a clock on you. There are no restrictions on that.
Mhm.
And I just felt, I'll go through what I've written here. And if I feel I'm losing the audience, I'll just skip. I just go, now skip. I knew what the outline was the end line was going to be.
That's the thing, you must really prepare yourself to kind of not win, in a sense. That it's like when you have that in front of you, you're like, I've not even read it. Like, what do I do?
You have to be prepared for, yeah, look, it's all whether you win or lose, the great thing is to be in the conversation. It's just great to be nominated, and to be there was a treat, really. Fabulous to be there with all the nominees and members of Larian who were there. It was a great night. It was really fabulous to be a part of it. But yeah, if it's not you, it's not you.
Absolutely.
And you just have to go with it. You're still nominated, and that's an honor. And to win is just amazing. But then you get imposter syndrome.
Imposter, yeah.
Yeah, where I started to think, I mean, there was the BAFTA in the morning, and I thought, well, okay, it must really have happened then. A very short night, a long night of partying, a very short night of anything else. So the BAFTA was still there, and I thought, well, okay, I guess it happened. And then it gradually sinks in, and then I brought this very heavy, as I said in the speech, I brought the BAFTA home. It's still here, sitting over there. But after a while, it would sort of, I'd exchange glances at the BAFTA, and it would look at me, and as if to say, don't think you've really won this. I think this really belongs to you. Do you? You're not fooled by this, are you? Oh no, someone's going to knock on the door and say, my, what manner of BAFTA is this? May I have it back, please?
I was about to say your BAFTA's turned into Raphael.
Yeah. Yeah, the Academy wants it back. They've sent me to collect. Yeah, so it's been quite a thing. But
That's wild.
no, it's a great honor, honestly. But what a privilege! Look, what a privilege to be as just a part of this game. The game that won, the only game that's won Game of the Year across every major award. And then to be up there with it, it's fantastic. No, it's just a real privilege. But none of us knew. We none of us knew
Mhm.
how huge the game was going to be as it evolved over time. There were suggestions for the early release suggested it was going to be big. There was going to be traction, and yeah, Raphael had some sort of traction in all of that.
It's strange because it's like I remember all of my friends at the time, and I'm very used to like sticking to games that I know, and I'll kind of replay games over and over. So when my friends are like, "Oh, you need to play Baldur's Gate, you will absolutely love it," I'm like, "It's really overhyped. I don't think I want to play it." And then eventually, when I did play it, I was like, "Why? Why did I stop myself for so long? This game's amazing for
Yeah.
everything, from your guys' work to the storytelling. I mean, I've wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons forever, but I never really had anyone to play with, so it was just like such a good gateway to get into that."
So you into Dungeons and Dragons as well now?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was involved in a campaign last year at college for a little bit, but I think I just find it too overstimulating. Like there was just so much going on, and I was just like, no, I think I'd much rather be at home in my pajamas with my headphones on, just listening to Astarion speak. Like that's all I want.
Darling, darling, who doesn't?
Absolutely.
So as RPGs go, you hadn't done you'd played a lot, but not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into the kind of role-playing games, that kind of thing. I'm I was about to say I'm an actor myself. I used to be very into theater and acting. So the idea of literally playing a character in a world, that's my cup of tea. But I think not actually being performing in a sense. I know you're kind of doing it in D&D because you're playing your character surrounded by people. I don't
Mm.
know. I think it's something I need to try again. So obviously you've done video games before. You've done The Witcher, you've done Sherlock Holmes. How did Raphael as a character differ between all of your characters?
Well, in one sense, not at all, because I auditioned through the usual process. The only difference being this was for motion capture, so I had to demonstrate movements that Raphael might have. He wasn't called Raphael at that point, I'm pretty sure, but just recording as much as a full length as you can in a London flat isn't easy. To get the phone or the iPad or whatever as far away from you as you can, it's not easy, but I did the best I could. So they had a sense of the voice that I had in mind and the movement. That was the difference. That I hadn't done motion capture before. In all other respects, perhaps there were echoes of Raphael in earlier roles. Perhaps you could say Raphael is the apotheosis of those other roles. It certainly felt like a return to my theatrical roots and characters and roles I'd worked on before, anti-heroes, villains, who always get the best lines. And I often say to people, the thing about playing a villain or a devil or an anti-hero is that you look for the heroic qualities in them. You look for the seeming contradictions. In the same way, if I'm playing a hero, I would look for the anti-heroic qualities. It just makes characters so much more interesting, so much more three-dimensional. And so my way into Raphael, in a way, was the charm, the effortless power, but the charm, the wit, the irony. And then through that, you can suggest the danger, but to make quick turns, to wrong foot in a sense the audience, so they don't quite know, the player audience, so they don't quite know what's coming next or what backed. I think those are the things I look for in a character and how I approached Raphael.
How was Raphael described to you? Was he literally described as a devil, or was it just kind of like this character's of the villainous suggestion?
Do you know, I can't remember because it's so. And I also, I think, submitted tapes, as we call them, recordings for other characters, possibly Astarion. I'm definitely Gale. So I have this weird alternative world image of Baldur's Gate 3 where I'm playing Gale and maybe Tim's playing Raphael. But how was he described? I think he was described as a Cambion, so half human, half devil, possibly the son of Mephistopheles. I honestly can't remember, but I knew we were in devil territory. I just followed my instincts with it. And that's what I did when I got to studio. And all the sessions were really brilliant at Pit Stop. The directors allowed me the freedom to find and develop the character, just nudged me here and there with certain lines. And then one had the luxury sometimes of several speeches if you could run them together almost as a monologue. So theatrical in that respect. It was like going back into the theatre. And they said physically with the motion capture, just angle it slightly. That felt like being on stage again. So you're in three-dimensional space. So yeah, that was how I approached it.
If you don't mind me saying, you do have a really nice voice. I know that you do audiobook narration and radio for that matter. Did you have to do anything different? Not, I guess not so much with your voice because you and Raphael's voice are like very, very similar. But even with the movement, is there like something that you did more with it? Did you move slower, like more with purpose?
I think Raphael, as I think I may have mentioned effortless a few minutes ago, there's an effortlessness about him. He doesn't have to, he's not constrained by time in any conventional sense. So he could move slowly, speak as, draw sentences out, indulge the language, really relish the language. I think those were things that I did, whether consciously or not. He's someone who plays with language as he plays with people. He's someone who can just take all the time in the world that he needs because he's effortlessly in control. And physically, I tried to make him a sort of, I saw him as a 17th century character, a little bit of a descendant of Satan in Paradise Lost, which I've just recorded this summer, and which has been released, books 1, 2, and 9, and we're going to release the full poem. I saw him in that 17th century tradition. Now, Milton originally envisaged Paradise Lost as a drama. I also saw Raphael as part of the revenge tragedy drama of the early 17th century. I saw him in that theatrical Baroque tradition. So yeah, I focused on the language and the elegance of that movement, physicality. Occasionally, when he manifested as a devil, I felt he was moving, like I think I said it in one session, he's moving a bit like a lizard today. And the movement director, we had movement directors, bespoke movement directors, as well as voice directors. And the director said, yeah, well, let's go with that. Let's go with that lizard manifestation, this saurian physicality. So he had a kind of, very appropriate, because Satan manifests as a serpent in the Garden of Eden. So a sort of sinuous, saurian, but again, slow. But he can ask when he needs to, but you just have to convey that. You don't actually have to. So that was really how, again, yeah, my way into him.
I think Raphael, I keep saying this just for my own interest, that I really would want Raphael to almost have a mod for a romanceable character just because he's so likable and dislikable at the same time. Like there's a bit of like a bad boy attitude.
That's great to love, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think in the same way that you'd like a Starion, but then again, like that depends how you see the character. Whereas Raphael, like he's a devil. Have fun with it. If you want to romance him, go for it. Go for gold. And I just feel like he would be such a good character to romance.
It would be tricky though, and I suspect Larian resisted the call for that. Yeah, he's the devil. That's not going to go well. And a lot of the fan response was, I don't care.
I'll take the risk.
Yeah, I'm going that way anyway. Yeah, but what I say to people, well, you can't play as him, but you obviously encounter him. And I always ask at conventions, Comic Cons, have you done a deal with him? Will you give him the crown? And I suggest on one playthrough at least they should do that and just see what happens. Take that Dark Urge playthrough or something. That might be the one I suggest. But yeah, I mean, Larian rather cleverly sidestepped it also with Harlep, with creating Harlep. He came along rather late in the process. So in a sense, and after a fashion, you can romance Raphael, or at least someone in his image. But that's an entirely different story.
How do you feel with the fan response of people seeing Raphael and in some way seeing yourself in that way? Like, I kind of see Andrew in a different light now that he's played this character.
Well, do they see me in a different light? I mean, you mean they see me as the devil, or they see...
I don't know, a bit like a cheeky, mischievous, I don't know. I don't know how to.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Raphael is playful. I do like to tease and play and have fun, and it's very entertaining meeting the fans actually at the conventions. Some are so nervous that they can barely speak, they're shaking, and others can't stop talking. It's so interesting, and others talk incredibly knowledgeably and intelligently about the game and every aspect of it. You know, the storytelling, the complexities, the moral decision making, actions having consequences. And I just sit there and listen and think, please stay all afternoon. It's great. And it's very rewarding when you've attempted or you think you've achieved something in through the character in the game, and they're complimenting you on all these things that you've tried to do. It's great. It's wonderful, because so often we do things that just they go into the ether, they disappear, or people play the games and you don't hear much about them. So it's a privilege to get the kind of feedback and the love to feel that this game still has, even 2 years on now, just over 2 years, the passion that the fans feel for this game. It's fabulous. Larian set the bar so high now.
Absolutely.
You know, no one, I don't think, this is a game for a generation, and I don't think anyone's going to touch Baldur's Gate 4. I mean, you know, Larian's done it. They've said, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing any more.
Yeah, I think when you've set the bar so high, I don't say you can only go down from there, but I think just trying to touch it in any kind of aspect would just not so much ruin it, but you just wouldn't replicate something so beautiful, something so good as that.
Yeah. I mean, someone said to me, would you play, I've been asked a few times, would I play Raphael again if asked? Well, it'd be difficult not to. It would be difficult, you know, to let someone else take Raphael over. I mean, it might have to come to that. But the thing is that whoever writes the next part of the chapter of the adventure, you know, maybe it's Raphael, Raphael, the story continues, or Avernus, I don't know, something, Raphael in Avernus, who knows? But if there's any continuation, the writing's got to be as good. The aspect of it, the things you mentioned, the narrative, the animation, the cinematics, the music, it's all got to be as good.
That's another thing. You had your own song. How does that feel?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, honestly, Kay, I feel that night I sang at the Royal Festival Hall, and Bobby said, we'll do it as an encore, and the concert had effectively finished. And he invited me up on stage, and this enormous screen went up. I went up there on stage. I thought I'd moved into a parallel universe. I'm not an actor anymore. I'm some rock star or something. That's another night, like the BAFTAs, I'll never forget. I'd said to Bobby, he said we were going to do the whole concert, the whole score as a soundtrack at the Game Music Festival, and he said we need to have Raphael's final act. And I said, well, what if it's not? I'm not a singer, Bobby. Bit out of my comfort zone. What if I don't do it? And he said, well, my friend, somebody has to sing it. So anyway, long story short, we agreed I'd do it as an encore. We hardly had any rehearsal. It was so scary. I was out of my comfort zone. And I'd heard the whole concert, which is beautiful. And the girls, Maria, Ilona, there's such fantastic singers. And the music sounded so amazing. All the texture and colour of the music as I was sitting there, just a few rows back in the audience in the Royal Festival Hall. But, I just did it through character and attitude. And that in the recording was how I arrived at the song. We had an hour to record it. And
wow.
They'd sent me the guide track and the lyrics, so I'd had time to listen and work on it. But I was worried about the timing and all of this. And then Bobby, at the end of the hour, said, okay, we do it one more time. We're nearly ready to go on stage. And when he said that, I thought, oh, stage. Oh, right. And a little window opened in my mind. A little light went on. I thought, this is like a stage musical. This is Disney villain time, maybe. This is theatrical musical theatre. So that's the way I approached it and did it. And I suddenly got a sense of how I could make it work. And that's what I do. And I've sung it live twice. I sang it at the Roundhouse earlier this year in March, which was a better performance, a more grounded, more accomplished, more solid, I think, performance, simply because I've done it before. But it wasn't a surprise. It was really weird. I was at the theatre last night, and someone came up to me in the interval, and he introduced himself. And he said, got to say, big fan. I was there at the Royal Festival Hall the night you sang Raphael's final act. And my wife and I were sitting there, and we thought, we've got to have Raphael's final act. We've got to have that. Surely, are we going to get that? Concert ended, of course. It was a great tease. It was a brilliant idea of Bobby. So that was curious. Strangest of places, there I was at the Bridge Theatre watching an Ibsen play, an adaptation.
Wow.
This man comes up to me and knew me.
Is it strange to be recognised like that?
It is like that because I don't get it walking down the street, but in certain, I think at conventions, a particular kind of milieu, you can expect it. When I left the Royal Festival Hall that night, I couldn't get out of the foyer. I was turned into an impromptu signing. Oh, will you autograph this? Well, I'm just trying to get a drink, actually. And then someone brought me, here you go, some water. Yeah, okay, that'll do. Something. But it's amazing. You never quite know. But what's the strangest thing? Oh, there's probably the strangest recognition I had. I went to an exhibition at the National Gallery about Siena, the town in Italy, and the argument being that it was more important to the Renaissance than Florence, that it really started there. So I was trying to get into the exhibition and had to go to the desk. And the young woman behind the desk said, "Oh, Mr. Wincott, Mr. Wincott, is it?" And I said, yes, that's right, Andrew Wincott. And she said, "Well, I know you from the game. My husband and I play the game." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Was it my voice you recognized or my name?" She said, "Oh, no, I think it was the voice."
Oh.
But it was the strangest place of recognition at the National Gallery.
You've also done a lot of radio, and you did the Archers for such a long time. I heard somebody mention the Archers just out of random conversation. I'll immediately think of you. How did you get into radio?
Well, I'm still in the Archers, Kate, after about 20 something years, over 70 years. And we actually 2 days ago celebrated the life of the lady who played my grandmother, June Spencer, who played my grandmother Peggy, who retired at the age of 103.
Wow.
And I just say, yeah, she just wasn't trying, was she? And she died 2 years later at 105. I mean,
Wow, that's
extraordinary. So you think of the longevity of that program, and again, I feel so privileged to be a part of it. How did I get? I did a lot of radio before that. I joined the Radio Drama Company. I've twice been on that, and in those days, anyone could write in, any actor could write in and ask for, please, will you audition me? And they would see you. Or you go in and record some pieces and demonstrate your ability, your versatility with character and through voice. And then I was invited to join the Radio Drama Company, which I did for about 18 months, and then went back. And over the years, I was invited back as a freelance contributor, as an actor. And many people go to work on radio as freelance actors, but the Radio Drama Company was a core company of, as it were, resident actors, a repertory company, if you like. So I did a lot of radio, and my very first radio I was asked to do because by the same director who gave me my first professional theatre job, equity card. He graduated from theatre to radio, and I went to record my first drama there in Birmingham, which is where we still record The Archers. So it's like going home, Birmingham, in a sense, from the Midlands. The Midlands is where the programme The Archers is set. It's farming country around that area. And some of my family come from that area, like going back to my roots.
So what would you say to somebody who'd like to get into radio? Not so much just acting, but just in a presenter kind of space as well.
Well, to get as much experience as they can, to steep themselves in radio and drama, if it's drama you want to do, to listen, to decide what works, what doesn't work, what's good, what's bad, what you would be good at, how you would excel. And not just that, but to see it as an extension of every other part of the performing arts, because it's not something that's separate, that's really separate from theatre or games. I mean, they're all connected. We're all of us actors. We're not just voice actors, even though most of the things we do may be in voice. We are, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 was movement. It was motion capture. And I always say radio is an incredibly physical medium. You don't just, you've got the script, but you don't not move. Your body has to move because your body will affect how your voice sounds. So, for example, if you're doing a scene which is in the open air, you will be pitching up. We have a special acoustic area in the studio, we call it the dead room because it has a zero acoustic. It even has a little approach called the snail, where you can come around a corner and as it were, approach from 2 fields away and really.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is this large room, padded, really. I mean, in the old days, they probably used egg boxes. Somebody said, redone, oh, it costs thousands of pounds. Don't touch the phone. Somebody said, why didn't they use egg boxes? It's cheaper. So, but we use the dead room, and then there are other acoustic spaces, live or semi-live. There's a sort of much more live space, would be the barn or a village hall, a wooded hard floor, and then there's a carpeted floor which covers covers offices or lounge bars or living rooms or bedrooms. And if I tell you there's a sofa in there so that you can relax on the sofa when you're in a sitting room situation, and that sofa converts into a bed. And if you're in a bedroom and you're in bed in a particular scene, you're in the bed, in the sofa bed, under a sheet. Oh, yeah. So it's very real in that sense. You're not just standing around a microphone, not in this traditional way of doing radio. A lot is done now much more geared towards post-production. So you really are standing in a microphone in a soundproof booth or whatever, and then they do it all in post-production. That's perfectly okay. It's faster. But with the Archers and traditional radio drama, this is how we do it, in situ as much as possible. With Foley, somebody does spot effects, rattling teacups, if there are knives and forks. If we're eating something, we will be eating it. It might be something digestible, like a banana or a brioche or something. For pizza, it's very good to use pita bread because you get that crisp sound when you bite into it. So we do try to make things as real as possible. There's even a kitchen space in us, which has a kettle, a microwave. It has an auger, it has running water. It's not a glamorous space, but you can get the sense of movement within it. If you get up, you go to the fridge, you lean over, get something out of the fridge. Again, your voice will change as you lean over. You call the line back. You've always got to remember you're talking to the microphone. So don't look at the wall. You can sound very far away if you do, but that's the technical aspect of it. You get to understand what works. So you can back away. When you leave a scene, you can retreat, but you generally always have to face the microphone as you do it. Otherwise, you'll be suddenly disappearing. And similarly, calling from a distance, you can call in the dead room, for example, call into the phone, which will give you a distance, but you may only be, 4 or 5 feet away. So all these things that you learn, tricks of the trade in a way that evolve. It's great fun. It's like having with the Archers, it's like having a second family, but you don't see them often enough to get annoyed with them.
I mean, that's the beauty of it as well. Like what you said with movement, even if you're presenting in general, if you're standing just like that, or you're standing relatively still, you're not going to get the same, the same effect, I guess. You're not going to hear the excitement or the enthusiasm that you'll have talking about whatever subject that you're talking about.
I was actually in the BBC the other day, the tribute event, and I went up to the Radio 1, Radio 2 areas, and I was watching them on air, and some of the disc jockeys are actually standing. So you have a different energy when you're standing. And I always feel this with recording audiobooks. It's often, although you're at a microphone all day, so it'll be tough if you're standing all day. The thing about recording audiobooks is because you're in front of the microphone all day, it would be tiring to be on your feet all the time. But I often feel I want to be on my feet. You can't elaborate too much physically because the microphone will pick up movement. You have to be careful what you're wearing. But there's a different energy if you're seated all the time. I often feel you get tension when you're sitting the whole time because you're having to create character through your voice, but you've only got this top half of your body. Much more, be a different energy if you could actually be on your feet. For a presenter, I can imagine it's the same. You want to be as relaxed as you can vocally, and because otherwise you get tension, and that can lead to strain. So you want to find a posture, a physicality that's good. But that's a technical thing that you will find what works for you.
I mean, I know for myself, my radio show that I do for college is more specifically video games and the scores and things. And I have a passion, I have an interest for it. So I get excited when I play the song. I'm not going to lie, I've played Raphael's Final Act more times than I can count by this point. And it feels like by the time I get to the end of Raphael's Final Act, it is like I've been in a theatre performance. It's like I'm ready to stand up, I'm ready to applaud. Like, sorry guys, I'm back here, I'm here. You are going to be attending To the Moon Expo in Birmingham.
Yes, I am.
Exciting. I think this is their first one.
Yes, I think it is. I think it's a new venture.
It sounds really interesting. I know I did think about going to Cork Comic Con because I know that's where you some of your colleagues and some of the Red Dead guys are going to, and that's actually something I considered doing. So I have so many Comic Cons after.
Yes, that's coming up on the 4th and 5th of October, Cork. That'll be fun. This weekend, I'm going to Wales.
Yes.
So tomorrow, the 20th, I'll be in Llangollen, and then a brief trip to Spain. Actually,
Ooh,
next week before Cork. Next weekend, I'm going to be in Malaga, and that's another new, I think, venture. San Diego Comic Con in Malaga.
that's very strange. That's unusual.
Yes, I don't think I'm not going to be very interesting what form it takes, but I'm going to be doing a panel with some incredible actors, Spanish actors who do a lot of dubbing. But yeah, that's a very different thing, a very different discipline when you get into dubbing from, and animation and creating voices in that way. But yeah, from gaming.
Have you been to Comic Cons before you got the role of Raphael?
I think the only one I'd been to was one in Cologne in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Which was connected to John Sinclair, which is some of the fans may know this. It's a sort of gothic noir, film noir. They're like graphic novels or audio movies, like a film noir, but involving the supernatural. So I was John Sinclair, Demon Hunter. There are about 15 recordings of this. They're amazing. Heavily post-produced. I worked with them with someone I've recorded a lot of games with. So it was like recording a game. I wasn't in a studio with other actors. I was in isolation doing my lines. But yeah, I'm John Sinclair, Demon Hunter, Special Division, Scotland Yard. And he's fighting demons and, satanic forces. But he's a very conflicted character because he's a soldier from Afghanistan. But he is, fighting the forces of darkness. But the darkness is also inside himself.
Oh, wow.
So it is all elements of the paranormal, supernatural. But they were great fun, and the fans do seem to enjoy them. Those that know them. But check them out. They're on Audible. John Sinclair, Demon Hunter.
I'll need to. Yeah, that sounds right up my street. I love vampire
Oh yeah,
stuff. So
and a lot of great music as well. Sort of real, sort of heavy pounding rock music. But they started in Germany. That's the connection. They're massive in Germany, and there was a Comic Con there, and I met the German. Talking about dubbing, I met the German John Sinclair. And the German John Sinclair is also the voice of all those films, English American films, starring Daniel Craig, because he dubs all of Daniel Craig's movies. He is the voice. So he was the voice of James Bond in Germany. Those movies, all of Daniel Craig's. So everything Daniel Craig did, he dubbed. That's what tends to happen. You get selected to become, and then your voice becomes the voice of a particular actor.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and he was John Sinclair. I went over as the English John Sinclair.
That's so cool.
Let me know what you think of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you so much. I have to warn you, I'm so unprepared. I think the last time we spoke, I did start to write questions, and then stuff just kind of went on in my home life and in my college and everything. And I was just like, I don't have time to think about this. And then when you're like, let's do it tomorrow, I'm like, right, okay, great. I've not written anything down, but I figured stuff out. We're good.
Well, you're doing very well. I mean, we're just having a conversation, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is just me speaking out there to anyone who might be listening. But my advice to anybody who wants to get into like radio interviewing and that kind of thing, I always advise write your questions and stuff, but I never stick too closely to them because I'm kind of like I just like to know where the conversation will go.
Yeah.
Like if I feel like I'm sticking too much to what I've written, it's just going to be so robotic, and that's the absolute last thing that
Also,
I want.
you're perhaps trying to shape too much something that's organic, which should have its own form. It should flow freely, like a conversation, which is what I think this has been. So
Mhm.
I don't feel you haven't been prepared.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, and I will also say this as well, I like the idea of having met Like, for example, me, I've met you before. Like, it feels like I've known you and I've spoken to you, like, off professionalism or whatever to that extent. So it feels more comfortable. Um, if I had no idea who you were, it would be a completely different scenario.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing I would say, Kay, on a more general sense of what advice would I give to an actor, as this is radio and everything else, but as an actor, I would say your raw material is quite simply the world. Your resource is yourself, your voice, your body. So be fit, be healthy. Think of your voice. Think of what your voice can do. Think of the range, young, old, but high, low, what like a singer almost. Think of
Mhm.
what your range can be, but also the raw material is what's out there. So as well as going to the theatre or listening to radio or playing games and listening to what actors are doing and watching what they're doing and thinking what works, or films, what works. Why do I like this film? Why do I like that actor? Why do I like that performance? It, do as much as you can of that. And if you can't do that, just look at people as you move around in the
Mhm.
street. You sit on a bus. Look at the way people are sitting. Look at the way people are holding their bodies. Look at the way they move, because life is a theatre. Shakespeare, all the world's a stage. But it really,
Mhm.
if you sit on a bus or on a train, watch people, watch how they interact. You know, we're kind of jackdaws, or is it magpies? We're collectors. We collect things that work, things that Tarantino used to do this. He admits to it. You'll see something in a scene of his, a film of his, which works really well, and you say, "Ah, yeah, yeah, no, I kind of copied that." But it's a tribute too, but to some other great director. So watch people, watch how they are, and think how you can use all of this to fire your own creativity.
Before I kind of got into video games and stuff, I would never even attempt to go outside. My anxiety was always through the roof. And it wasn't until I discovered video games where I kind of started to venture out in things. And I went to cons, like it would start in Glasgow, for example, which is still like 2 hours away from me and which is unheard of me to travel.
Wow.
But now it's like I've been to Dublin, Belfast, I've been to like other areas. I booked tickets to see Neil in a con in Milan, but I never ended up going. Um, just lots of other things, and it's just because now I love to travel, um, and I'm not frightened of it anymore,
That's great.
which is bonkers. Um,
That's really,
yeah.
yeah. You can travel, and it's helped you and brought you out of yourself and out of that.
Yeah, I mean, like even this, all of this that I'm doing, I wouldn't picture myself doing it before I discovered games.
Yeah.
I think I said to my mum in a passing comment when I was very little, I was like, "Oh, I want to do what Graham Norton does. I want to interview cool people." And she was like, "Great, okay. How would you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I want to do it though." And
But now you found a way to do it.
yeah, exactly. And it's just bonkers. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without, well, you guys, without, the games, the actors, everything involved. And I know games like Baldur's Gate, it takes a village to make something so incredible, something well crafted.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. The level of detail and the level of commitment to the game, listening to the Larry and listening to the fans and giving back to them, you know, shaping the game to suit what the fans wanted for the most part, I think, and continuing to listen. I mean, they've said enough's enough now. I think with patch 8, it's come to an end. But yeah, I've nothing but admiration for them, and can't wait to see what they're going to do next.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It was wonderful. It was a pleasure.
Great pleasure chatting, Kay. Thanks so much for inviting me onto the show.
Have you got anything to say to the fans before we sign off?
Thank you so much to everybody for your commitment to this game, your passion, your love, your enthusiasm. Thank you for sharing that with me through the Comic Cons and messages, and it's tremendous. It's so rewarding to be a part of this community. And please, as I always do, always try to urge everybody to respond creatively, to be creative. It's fantastic the way this game has been an inspiration. It's such an honor and a privilege when people say Raphael has been an inspiration. My dear, I can't think how. But I do think it's tremendous when the fan art, the fan fiction, and even look, the cosplay is amazing.
Oh my
That,
gosh, yeah.
that fans are creating character and expressing themselves in that way. It's just wonderful to be a part of this community. It's been a real gift, a privilege. So I thank you very much. And I look forward to meeting more of you at future Comic Cons and to doing more and more games. So thank you.